There's a certain humility built in, but the humility is tied to a tenacity that you have a calling. I want to say this especially to young folk, that I hope that you wrestle with your sense of your calling, not just your career, not just your career, your vocation, not just your profession, your life task, not just your day job. What are you here for? And no one can answer that but you. You could choose to be a poet like Salle. Choose to blow the saxophone like John Coltrane and Love Supreme. Choose to be a painter like Picasso or Jacob Lawrence. You could choose to be a medical doctor like Anton Chekhov, or a playwright like Anton Chekhov. Whatever your calling is. I come from a tradition that says lift every voice. Every voice. You can't be a jazz man or blues woman without finding your voice. What is the challenge of so many young folk these days? I spend a lot of time in the studio with hip-hop artists. And when I walk in, I tell them quite explicitly, yes, I'm old school. I'm old school. I'm Luther Vandross.
Yes, yes.
Oh, yes. I'm Warren Hutchison of the Emotions. And what does that mean? They were originals. I walk in to see young folk, see too many copies. See too many copies. Why is that so? Because in a market culture, you can be a copy and still be highly successful. You can sing out of tune and still make a whole lot of money. Sarah Vaughan turns over in her grave, as does Nat King Cole, because they knew how to sing. They took it seriously. It was an art. It was a discipline. They mastered it day in and day out. The way Michael Jackson danced 9 hours every day. He may have had other problems, but the brother mastered his art. That's what lifting your voice is, not being a copy. Emerson says imitation is suicide. Emulation is a sign of an adolescent mind. Be a creation and an invention, not just an imitation, but it means then you have to cut radically against the grain. And our young folk have been bombarded for the last 30 years at the very moment when the class war from above has been attacking working and poor people with a massive transfer of wealth from them to the well-to-do as they begin to colonize and dominate government of both parties. That's the very moment where young folk have been given massive cultural weapons of distraction. TV, video, film, and the aim is to do what? To titillate and to stimulate and to provide models of narrow success so that to be successful in America, more and more is defined as material toys, trophy spouse, and well-adjusted to injustice, and well-adapted to indifference. So you end up with a peacock mentality. You see this especially among black folk, because we have a profound sense of wanting to be recognized given the ugly forms of self-hatred and self-violation coming at us. So as soon as we're successful, we just want folk to notice us. Look at me like we're a peacock or something. And I can hear my grandmother saying peacocks strut because they can't fly. Nothing wrong with being recognized, but that's not the end, that's not the aim. The question is not being successful, the question is, what are you faithful to? How are you using your success? Are you choosing to be an eagle as opposed to a peacock? Because a peacock can easily be crushed, co-opted, incorporated, and you end up with spiritual blackout, an emptiness of the soul. And that's exactly what we're dealing with. We're dealing with an age of the sellout. People who are willing to sell out for money and assets. People who are willing to do anything just to be successful. And you say to yourself, well, wait a minute now. I'm not surprised when I see black or brown and red folk who are brilliant and articulate. I grew up with black people who were brilliant, and many of them ended up in the prisons. Many of them in the grave right now. I look at my first grade teacher, the first grade picture. I'm the only black man alive in that picture. There were 15 black brothers, all of them gone. Many of them much more talented than me, so I know that I'm not a peacock candidate. I was a B plus, B minus, A minus on a good day. I just happened to somehow survive. Lord allowed me to live long enough to use a cracked vessel like me to try to tell the truth and bear witness and make sure we don't have any erasure of historical memory, to understand those who came before, who set high standards, and to use those standards as the benchmark by which we measure the present. And the present do, in fact, have significant folk now. Lupe Fiasco ain't no joke. Erykah Badu ain't no joke. Jill Scott ain't no joke. Oh yeah. Beyonce. I love my dear sister. She's a great entertainer, but she's part of the culture of superficial spectacle. I applaud her success. The question is what she's faithful to. Aretha Franklin couldn't make it in this culture because she didn't look a certain kind of way and can't shake her thing in a certain kind of way. I don't care. I like the way she sings because it comes from her depth. It comes from her soul. She lifts her voice and masters her art and recognizes that it's rooted in something deep that goes all the way back, not just to the spiritual, but all the way back to the civilizations of Africa that Brother Malefi or something and others talk about. That's the tradition that we're talking about. And every group has access to it. Don't have to be a vanilla brother and sister just to fall in love with chocolate cultural productions. Bob Dylan is a blues man and a genius, Jewish brother named Robert Zimmerman from Minnesota. Frank Sinatra, working class Italian brother from Hoboken, he got it going on. Listening to Billie Holiday every day because he understands arete, what the Greeks call excellence, highest levels, highest standards to measure what is in place. Thank God LaSalle has decided to build on the tradition of arete, the Socratic questioning, but also the legacy of Jerusalem.